Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Under Eagle Mountain Making Podcast. Hello, my name's Laura and this is my podcast all about the things that I make. Since last time I've had quite a lot of new subscribers, which is really nice. So I thought I'd just repeat a little bit of information about myself. I live in the northwest of England in West Yorkshire. I'm originally from Manchester. I'm a wife and I've got 4 kids, and my main job is as a stay-at-home mum and housewife. But as the children have grown and as they've got older, I've had more and more time to make things. I make a lot of things for them, but recently I started making more things for myself, which is really nice. I enjoy knitting and sewing and naturally dyeing. I dye fabric, which I often turn into quilts, although I haven't done much of that recently, so there hasn't been much of that on here, but I am hoping to get back to it. And I have, in the last sort of couple of years, done quite a lot of dyeing on wool, and I've really started to enjoy that, and I want to do that more and more. But of course it means I've just got loads and loads of wool, so I'm gonna have to do something with it. I also recently took up pottery, like wheel throwing pottery. Just coming toward the end of my second 10-week course, and I've already signed up for the next course that starts in January. I'm really enjoying that. It's very hard. It's not coming naturally, but I am really enjoying it. So yeah, this podcast kind of includes a bit of everything, so hopefully you'll find something that you enjoy here. You might have seen at the beginning some footage that my daughter and I took on a recent trip to Scotland. We stayed just outside of Edinburgh in a place called Gorebridge, and travelled into Edinburgh on the train, and we had a really lovely time together. We were really lucky with the weather. It was like perfect autumn. Today is the 1st of November, and we seem to have done a very definite switch into November type weather. It's a bit grey, it's a bit drizzly, it's quite gloomy, which is why I am again sat this way round. So if you've been from the beginning, I kind of sat with my back facing that way and had the camera here for the first few times. But as it's got darker, I kind of need to be facing the window so that you can see the things when I'm showing them. But it does mean there's a bit of reflection on my glasses. Sorry about that. I know it's a bit annoying. It can be a bit distracting, but it's a bit like the lesser of two evils. So I hope you can kind of bear with me. Okay, so it's a bit of a funny episode because I've got quite a lot of finished things and I've got a lot of plans for other things, but I don't actually have many works in progress. I mean, I've got a lot of resting or hibernating or slightly ignored works in progress, but actively I've got one, but it's not very exciting because it's the same as some of the finished things I'm going to show you. And then I've got a second one that I just cast on last night, so it's just a row of stitches, so I'm not even going to show it because it's just a row of stitches on a needle. It's not that exciting, but hopefully I'll have made more progress on that for next time, but I'll come to all of that. So my first finished object is this. I'll just kneel up here a little bit So you can see it. This is my heirloom quilt cardigan. So if you have been here for a while, I think this probably featured in the first ever episode. I'm looking back at my Instagram, I think I cast it on last November, like the first of the squares. So if you don't know this pattern, it's by Katrin Seeberger. It's called the Heirloom Quilt Cardigan, and you knit it, these colourwork stars, you knit them flat one at a time, and then you seam them all up together, and then it's meant to have long sleeves. I knitted one sleeve twice, and each time I just felt it was too narrow. I don't know why. Looking at all the ones on Ravelry, or that I've seen about the place, because it's a really popular pattern, I've never thought that. Looking at it, I've never thought, oh, well, that looks a bit funny. But to me, when I put it on, I just felt, compared to the boxiness of the body of the cardigan, the sleeve looked a bit narrow. And I think partly also, this is really squidgy. It's really thick fabric, because you've got the floats on the back and you've got the seams from where you join it together, because you kind of mattress stitch it all together. And so it makes a really, like, almost like a quilted fabric. And then obviously the sleeves were just knitted in the round straight in one colour, and just the contrast between the two, I just didn't like it on me. So I gave up and I knitted the ribbon around the bottom and the ribbon here, and I decided, given that it was like a quilty project, that I would do a stripy ribbon. On the quilts I make quite often, I do a stripy binding around the edge with like the scraps, sometimes with like a stripy fabric, but oftentimes with all the little bits of scraps you have of the different colours that you've used, I will then put a stripy binding around it, and it just looks really pretty. And so I thought I would follow the same sort of pattern here, and I didn't do the same on each of them. I did like different colours, and the sleeves match. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. And so I sort of did all that, and then I put it on, and my mum, my daughter, a friend of mine, like, all said, oh, I really like it without the sleeve, like it looks really nice as a little vest. So I decided to run with it, because I do really like how it looks, and I wasn't happy with the sleeves, but also it means I finished it. So again, if you've been here a while, or if you've followed me on Instagram, you'll know that I started a knit along in September called the Knit Patchwork Cal. And one of the reasons for that was to give me a kick up the bum to finish this cardigan, because, as I say, it's been hanging around for a while. But also, just at the minute, there are so many beautiful, like, patchwork inspired patterns about the place. Obviously, Laura Penrose has got a lot. She's got cushions and blankets and hot water bottle covers and a jumper, like the Maxine sweater has either just come out or it's about to come out. Andrea Mowry had her framed set for Rhinebeck. There's just all sorts of different things. I did a few, like in August, I think I posted like an inspiration video with all different types of patterns, garments and accessories, and a couple of things for the home. And the knit along started on the 1st of September, and it will run till the end of November, so there's still a whole month left. There's more information on my Instagram or in previous posts, so I won't go on about it too much. I'll talk about it in a minute, because this was the prize for the end of October. So I did a prize at the end of September and a prize at the end of October, and I'll do one more at the end of September. But yeah, this was, the thing that I really, really wanted to get finished. I either will or I will have put up like a video so you can see me stood up and can see all of it. I'm really, really pleased with it. So I know quite a few people have got one of these half done somewhere. So I hope this inspires you to get it out and finish it. I'm really pleased with it, and it's so cozy, it's so warm. I knit mine in Woolly Mammoth Fibre Hearth DK. Emma is a natural dyer, so all of these are dyed using plants or, you know, plant extracts, and it's dyed on a grey base, which means the colours are slightly muted, rather than, you know, really bright. And I love them. It's so pretty. I think it's the colours that make it, really. So yeah, it's like all my favourite things: natural dye, wool, quilt, pattern, everything. And I feel all autumnal and cosy. So yeah. The other thing I've got on underneath, which you can't really see, again I showed it on my Instagram but I haven't showed it here, is the Caladium jumpsuit. I think that's how you say it, Caladium or Caladium jumpsuit. Again, I'll show, or I will have shown, a video of it. It's like the pattern, it was for a reversible jumpsuit. It was by Caramia or Caramia Designs, I can't quite remember. I just got it off Etsy. Like, I saw it on Pinterest and I followed the link, found it on Etsy and bought the pattern. And it was reversible, so it had a square neck on one side and a V-neck on the other. I wanted a V front and back. I did make one in the summer out of this fabric, this sort of navy blue cotton with a white ditzy print, and I was really looking forward to it, and I just totally messed it up. Like, and at the time I knew I'd messed it up because I followed the wrong line for the grain line. So the leg has a straight inseam and the outside leg kicks out because it's a really wide flared leg, and I just wasn't paying attention, and I lined up the outside of the leg with the grain line of the fabric, so it meant it wasn't quite on the bias, but it almost was, so the whole thing kind of pulled in a really weird fashion, and so it was no good. But also the straps at the top seemed a bit thin. It looked a bit weird. I could have done two sizes, a size 2 or a size 3, and I chose the size 2, or the second size. It's not called size 2, the second size, because I wanted maybe less ease. It has a lot of ease, this pattern, but really I should have done the size 3 if I was following the suggested amount of ease from the pattern, and but I didn't, and it just looked weird. It pulled across here too, and the straps looked a bit small, so I decided that I would make another one. I bought this denim. It's a kind of mid-weight denim, I guess. I don't know how many ounces, but a mid-weight denim, quite dark, from Merchant & Mills, and I'd bought it in the summer with specifically to make this jumpsuit. So I decided to have another go, and because I'd wanted the V-neck, I'd cut out the V-neck part of the pattern, and I'd just cut out 4 pieces, like, you know, 2 fronts and 2 backs, because it was reversible. I assumed that they were the same. But I decided this time around I'd double check that, and I looked at the measurements for the square necked side, and actually it was much wider. There was like an inch extra on the side, and the straps were wider. So not only had I cut the backs, I hope this is making sense, like the back pieces on the wrong grain line last time, because I'd cut 4 of those pieces, the whole thing was actually narrower. So the whole thing looked weird. It was like major mistake, you know. These things happen. So this time I cut 2 of the back pieces, which were the piece that had the V, and then I altered the front piece. It was called front, although because it was reversible I thought they'd be the same, but they're not. So but I altered it, and I changed it from the square neck to another V-neck, but the whole thing is a bit wider on the front than on the back. And then I also made the size 3, and lo and behold, actually following the pattern and following the designer's recommendation, it fits. You know, I should really learn to just do as I'm told and not faff about too much, because I'm really pleased with how this looks, with how it fits, with how it feels. It's so comfortable. I have worn it loads since making it. There's loads of room underneath, so you can get like long sleeve tops, even like knitted. I mean, I've just got like a machine knitted woolly thermal on, but I think I could get a thicker knitted woolly layer, like hand knitted woolly layer underneath it too, but then you can also get a lot over the top of it, so I think it'll be really good. I think it'll carry me through all the seasons. I can wear it with tights underneath or leggings, because it's a little bit cropped in the leg. I did add a little bit of length to it, about 3 inches, maybe 2 or 3 inches, but I didn't add more than that, because obviously the more length you add, the more width you add to the legs, and I didn't want to run out of fabric. But I really like it. I would definitely make another one. I do have some really dark brown cord, like chocolatey brown cord. It's quite a big wale, so quite a thick cord line, but the fabric itself isn't too thick. It's quite floppy, that's not the right word. Drapey, is that like the proper sewy word? Quite a drapey fabric. So I think I might make another one at some point. I would definitely wear it. So yeah, that's been a big success cardigan, success jumpsuit. I'm very pleased. It doesn't always happen. I've also knit 2 hats. So I think last time I showed a hat that was not this hat, but looked exactly the same as this hat. This is the front side flip. It's a beanie pattern by a lady called Heather Walpole, who I don't really know anything about. I'd just gone on Ravelry and looked for a checked hat, because my cousin had seen one that he really liked, and he'd shown me a picture of it, ready to wear one, and I found a pattern and knitted one up for him. But it has sparked, so cute, those decreases, it sparked a huge wave of please will you knit me one from my family, which is really rare. So this one is my husband. This is only the second thing I ever knitted him. I knitted him another hat quite a few years ago, which he immediately ruined by getting it soaking wet and then just like hanging it over the radiator to dry, and it just all dragged down and pulled down and stretched out, and nothing I could do could get it back in shape. So I swore then I was never going to knit him another one, but he was really taken with this. I'm very taken with my floats. The first time I knitted the hat was the first time I'd ever knit colourwork in the round. This is the first colourwork I've ever knitted, and this, the first one of these was the first bit of colourwork I'd done in the round. And he wanted one exactly the same colours. So I've obliged, and that will go in his Christmas presents or birthdays. Birthday's just before Christmas, so one of the two. My daughter also wanted one. She wanted a black and white one, which if you know her won't surprise you. And so I've done that, but she's got it. It's in a drawer, in a bag, on a head, whatever. So I don't have that to show. And I am knitting one more, so kind of jumping ahead. Well, actually I need to knit 2 more, because my eldest son also wants one, and he wanted one of the colours to be orange. Orange is his favourite colour. He doesn't really mind what went with it. But I'm knitting this one too. Oh, I've just dropped a stitch. Look, it's a teeny tiny baby one. Both the green and white one and this one are knit in Durarium Natura Ulysses. I think that's how you say it, Ulysses. And it was in the white pepper and forest, and this is white pepper and a blue that I can't remember, and I don't have the ball band. It's like, it's not the palest of the blues, but it's not like the deep navy either. That's really helpful, sorry. So this, at my pottery group, there is a man whose wife is going to have their first baby. It's a very precious baby, I think, wanted for a while, and that baby is due in a few weeks, and I thought I would knit a little present, because that's what we do, knitters, isn't it? Or makers. We make things, especially for new babies, because it's such a, there's just such special things to celebrate. And as I say, this one is a particularly special one, I think. So yeah, I thought I'd knit just a tiny little checked beanie for them. So my big boy would like blue, and then where this is white, he said he would like that to be orange. So that is going to be on my list. Again, if you've been following me on Instagram, I've had a little bit of hand paint. I've had paint here and a little bit here, and then kind of running into the outside of my elbow. I do a lot of knitting, so I know that can cause repetitive stress, so it might be that, but I've always done a lot of knitting, so I didn't understand why it suddenly flared up. I think there are two things. One, I've been doing a lot of digging in the garden. We've got a really big, deep bed that has a lot of perennials in it. And over the last couple of years, they've spread, and certain plants have kind of grown massively and swamped a load of other plants and killed them off. So this year I've cut them back, and I've been digging out those big clumps and dividing them up and putting just like maybe a fifth or a quarter of the size clump back. I've got some that I'm going to pass on to other people, and then some will just go in the compost, and just making space in the bed. But I think that has not helped. I think the digging and the separating, where you have to like bang your spade between the roots, I think that kind of jarring has caused some of the pain here. And then I think the other problem is knitting the hats, because it's little like small circumference, and I don't really like doing that. I've said in the past I much prefer knitting on DPNs. So I think that, I call it squirrel knitting, I think that has added to it, because when I stopped knitting for a couple of weeks, and then when I started, I knitted the ribbon on this, and I didn't have any problems, I didn't have any pain. And as soon as I went to knit my husband's hat, it was like, is that hurting? So I stopped again, and then when I started again on this, which is really tiny circumference, that's when it's started up a bit. So I will finish the baby hat, but I'm just going to do like a couple of rows a day and finish it in the next couple of weeks, so that I can gift it in time for the baby being born. And then I'm probably going to have a bit of a break and start my son's hat in December, and again just do it bit by bit by bit, and then give it to him for Christmas. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain, literally and figuratively. So that's all my finished knitting and sewing project. Oh no, it's not my finished, I've got this sewing project. This is a prize for the knit along. So as I said, there is I've just done a prize for the end of October. Really sadly, like if you saw last time, the prize that I'd for the September was a wooden yarn bowl that my husband had made on the lathe, and a sock set that I'd dyed, and it was won by Harriet Wildwood Stitches. And Harriet had chosen a skein of goldenrod dyed yarn that had then been bundled dyed with walnuts and marigolds and coreopsis, and it was really pretty, and it had a walnut dyed mini scheme with it that was brown, and it was really lovely. And I posted it off, and it's never arrived. And when I tell you I'm so sad, I'm really cross as well, because I don't know, I posted something else. I posted a birthday present to like my best friend's daughter at the same time, and that didn't turn up for ages. It has now turned up, which gave me a little bit of hope that the Cal Prize might also turn up at Harriet's, but it hasn't as yet. So Harriet's been really kind about it. She's been really understanding. I was like, well, I'll dye you some more wool, what do you want? And she's like, no, don't, you know, I think, you know, she was saying, I have loads of yarn, I don't really need more yarn. It was lovely to win it, but I don't want you to go to any more trouble to like buy more yarn and dye more yarn. And but I feel really bad, like I feel really grumpy that it happened. You know, it was a huge amount of work for me and my husband to make those prizes, you know, a lot of effort, a lot of love went into it. And then I don't know, either they've just been like dumped at the side of somewhere, or somebody's nicked it, hoping for something exciting. And, you know, maybe, hopefully, wool is exciting to them and they've knitted up the socks, but I imagine they've just been dumped or chucked or whatever. So I'm a bit sad. Anyway, this next prize, I drew the prize yesterday and it's been won by Orchid's Heart. That's her name on YouTube and on Instagram, and she chose this sock set. So this is 100 grams dyed with the walnut shells. That was the exhaust bath, so it's a bit paler. And then the mini ski in the 20 grams is a green that has been dyed with sage and then dipped in iron. So I think that's a really good representation of the colours. They look really nice. But I also decided to make a project bag. I said last time I had a whole selection of these like vintage quilt starts. I think somebody had started making a quilt years and years ago and never quite finished it. And you can see, you know, they're a bit wonky. They're not, I love them. Some of them have like joins in the fabric where they were just making up, you know, using up scraps of what they had. So I've continued that. This is the same material as my jumpsuit, and this at the top is the same as I use for some of the facing inside, and that is what I'd made the last jumpsuit in. So I've started cutting it up to reuse the fabric because it was just not wearable. It's got a zip and it's just lined with like a calico. So I haven't quilted it, but because the denim and the calico together, it is reasonably stiff. So it kind of will sit open. So you can knit straight from it if you want. So it's not perfect. I realised afterwards that this side is a bit wider than this side, but it's not bad. I'm quite pleased. I think it should hold up to use, and the sock set will go in there. So needless to say, this is going to be sent with every possible precaution. Like I just sent Harriet's present through the post, like through the normal post, but this is going to be sent with like insurance and tracking and signed for or whatever. You know, I'll speak to the guy and just say I don't want this to get lost. So yeah, that's the finished object, and that will be going in the post tomorrow, I think, along with a little something for Harriet, even though she said not to. I've got something little just to say thank you for joining in and thank you for being so kind, and I'm really sorry that your prize went missing. So yeah, I've got one more finished, well, it's like a set of finished things to show you, and this is yarn dyeing. I don't think that the yarn dyeing is necessarily as popular as like the knitting and sewing. It's certainly not on my Instagram, but it's really popular with me. So I hope if it's not your thing, you bear with me, because I do want to record all of the different crafts that I do, and the dyeing, I really love it. It's really important to me. So if you were here last time and you saw the yarn that I bought from Yarndale, Laxton's, which is a company local to me that spins all their yarn in the UK. It's really local to me. It's like less than an hour away, and a lot of their yarn is British. Not all of it, but a lot of it is, and they give quite a bit of information on their website about you know, where the different yarns come from. They tell you which ones are British and so on and so forth. And they do have one line, one base, which is really fully traceable. So there's like a QR code and you can click on it and it'll tell you what farm that particular yarn came from. So they're a really good company. And they were at Yarndale, and they always have like a basket of sort of, I don't know, like bargain basement prices. I guess it's end of line stuff or stuff that hasn't sold, or just excess stuff. So they had some undyed yarn, and they had a lot of it was just, it said 100% wool, and it was 200 meters per 100 grams, so DK wool. And I got 3 of them. And these are they. And actually this one, although they looked the same when I got them undyed, actually now it's dyed up, this one, I don't know if you can see, looks a bit plumper than these ones, which I'm trying to decide whether or not that's going to cause me a problem in the knitting up of it. Obviously, I'm just going to have to swatch to find out. It said, you know, they had the same meterage per 100 grams, so they should knit up the same, but that one definitely looks plumper. It's kind of bloomed more. And also it took the dye differently, interestingly. So this is the first one I did. This is dyed with dock seed heads. So, you know, you get those sort of rusty, spiky, dried heads, and when you shake it, there's lots of tiny seeds in. We have quite a lot in our garden, and there's also a lot in the lane and the hillside around us. So I just went and cut a basket full. I didn't weigh it out. I just filled up a pot with them, like as many as I could cram in the pot. And this was the first skein that I dyed. That's about the right colour there. And then this was the next skein, so that went in the exhaust bath, and it is in fact a little bit darker, and it's a little bit browner. This looks a bit pinker, and this looks a bit browner and a bit darker. Don't know if that's obvious, which is interesting because normally your exhaust bath would be lighter because you've used up some of the pigment already. So whether that's because the yarn has taken the wool slightly differently, you see the two there, or whether because the dye had kind of, because it was the next day, whether it kind of oxidized, changed a bit, that can happen. In the same time I put this in, the first exhaust, I put this in. So this is a bundle dyed skein. So you can see here, what I did is I laid the damp yarn out and I put some more dock seed like heads, just like the little one branches across, and then I put on some coreopsis flower and some marigold, that's the bright yellow, and the odd woad seed, which is given like a greeny colour where it's mixed with the marigold. And then I bundled it all up like that around the seeds, so all the seeds are inside, and then I tied it up and I put it into the dye bath. So I didn't steam it, which you often do. I stuck it in to the dye bath. So the outside of it dyed the same colour as this, and you can see that here. That's what these big patches are. But then where the different colours are, where the flowers and the seed heads were, you got different colours. So you get some orangey bits that are almost red. You've got some really yellowy bits, some greeny bits. So I'm quite pleased with how that's turned out. These things are always a bit of an experiment. And I'm thinking I would like to use these all together in a project. I'm thinking a vest, maybe. There's one by Rosa Pomar. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Burgess, I'm not sure. Vest. It's like a V-neck, boxy vest with a few buttons at the bottom. I've had it on my Ravelry for ages and ages. I really like it. She knits it in like a brown and a white and a brown, so there's like a band across the bottom. I'll put a picture in, but she holds different coloured mohairs with it along the way, so it looks like much more of a gentle fade. It's very pretty. I really like it. And so I was thinking something like the darker one and then this one, like from the bottom up, and then the slightly paler one for like my version. But I need to swatch it, because if that one does come up a bit bulkier, I might then need to hold a mohair with these two to kind of bring it up to gauge. Like, I'm thinking about it. That's what I might like to do. Very nice soft yarn. I think again these two are a tiny bit softer. That feels more like the wool trace yarn, which is soft and plump and cozy, but it still feels a tiny bit toothy, whereas this feels very smooth. I'm assuming that has got some merino in it. That's how it feels like. So yeah, that was that. And at the same time, then in like the last exhaust, I put in, this is very pale. Trying to think of something white to hold it up against. So there is some colour to it. It's like a very pale beigey brown. This is 20 grams of Shetland wool. I bought a big cone, I think a 500-gram cone of Shetland wool from World of Wool. And again, it's soft, but it still feels like proper woolly wool. You know, it's got a bit of toothiness to it, and you can see, like, you know, tiny weeny bit of hairiness to it. Like, this is my favourite sort of yarn. This, like, plump and bouncy, and but feels, you know, like it was once on a sheet. And I have a whole bag. I can't really see. Sorry, crinkly. A whole bag of this Shetland yarn dyed up. So that's oh, it's so lovely. That was the first walnut bath that I did. So sadly some of that got lost, but that was the first bit of yarn I put in, and it's just the most beautiful colour. I need to find, I got those walnuts when I was on holiday. I need to find like a walnut tree near me, because I would love to do that again. And then I've got loads of this. That's Sweet Sicily. What else? That's Sage. I'm just gonna I got some indigo, dandelion. So some of this I dyed up in the spring. Jane from Snapdragon Life was doing like a little mini course on dyeing with local plants, and I just joined in for fun. So I got hawthorn leaves, nice pale pink, comfrey. So like basically every time I do a dye bath, I've chucked in 20 grams of this, of this Shetland wool, and I've just got loads and loads and loads. It keeps coming. I think last one, there we go. Oh, that's a nice one. Oh, no label on that one. Oh dear, I was just congratulating myself on having labelled everything up. That looks to me like it's been over dyed with indigo. And my guess would be, don't know, something over dyed with indigo. So I've got all of these, and I've still got quite a lot of that Shetland wool left, and I have got quite a lot of dye stuff collected up at the minute. My aunt trimmed back her bay tree and she gave me lots of bay leaves, and the boys and I went and collected a load of heather. I've dyed with conifers. Oh no, that's conifer fronds, so I've already done that. There's this lovely orangey colour. So yeah, I've got some eucalyptus. I've got some, I don't think I've dyed with the birch bark. I've got loads of birch bark still, but I don't think I've done one of the Shetlands in that. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to use this. It's a DK weight yarn. I'm going to use it in a couple of projects. I think I'm going to make a Stella quilt cushion. I've talked about this before and shown it before. I think that would be a really nice use of these little bits of yarn, and show them, like, showcase them off really nicely. But I also really want to have a go at doing a bit more colour work. There's quite a few colour work jumpers, you know, with colour work yokes that I want to make and work up to. Ooh, can you hear that? We've got a train line at the bottom of the hill, and I don't know what sort of train that is. It's very loud. It's not normally quite that loud. Sorry if you can't hear that. That's obviously going to be a bit weird, but that's very unusual. Anyway, sorry, I've been totally distracted by that. So one of the ones that I fancy making is out of this book, Susan Crawford Echoes, and this book came out, I think, this time last year. My husband bought it me for my birthday last year, and one of the reasons is because all of the pictures were taken at a cottage in the Lake District up above Lake Coniston. And when I first saw the photos of the book, like just before she released it, I was saying, Phil, look, she's been to that cottage, because we'd stayed there, maybe 3 years ago, as a family in the October, and had a holiday. So this cottage is like up in the middle of nowhere. You get driven up by somebody in a 4x4, and it's this very bouncy, slightly scary journey to get up there. And there's no water. There's like no mains water. There's like a pump that you have to pump, and there's no gas. There's no electricity. There were some solar lights for downstairs, but they like ran out after about half an hour. So you were just like candlelight in the evening, and I had a headlight, like a head torch for knitting, and there was a stove for heating, and that was it. But it was in the most beautiful place. But it was a bit of a disastrous holiday in many ways. Do you remember when this shawl, I was telling you about the wall, this was somebody's, if you haven't seen that episode, it was somebody's go at hand spinning that had obviously been cleared out by somebody at some point, and it was just balls of this single plied hand spun thick and thin yarn, still very kind of oily, hadn't been washed, that my husband found in the charity shop and bought for me to try and cheer me up, because the beginning of this holiday there were like all sorts of, he'd forgotten coats, he'd lost this, he'd done that, and then we'd had this slightly frazzled morning, and we'd sat down in a cafe for lunch, and the first thing that happened was that the baby like just threw up all over the plate of food as the lady put the plate in front of him, and it was just like, oh my god, this is going to be the worst holiday. And it kind of, another child was vomiting while we were there, and one of the boys fell over and cut his head open, and it rained. Like, we got there on the first afternoon. I've got some pictures, I'll put a picture up. This is what it looked like. It was absolutely beautiful, and I thought, okay, it'll be fine, we'll have this. This is the view from outside the house, and the toilet is just like here, because there wasn't a toilet in the house. You had to go to like outside to a composting toilet. But it was absolutely beautiful. I thought, oh, it'll be fine, we'll walk, it'll be lovely, we'll just have days outside. The next morning we woke up to torrential rain. Not even like a tiny bit of rain, absolutely torrential. So within, like, by the end of the first day, the stepping stones that went from the house to the outside toilet were completely submerged under like a river of water. By the beginning of the following day, there was water inside the house. So like the whole, all except for one room seemed, like the living room with the stove, that seemed either to be a bit higher or whatever, but that was okay. But all the other rooms had standing water in them. You could just see it bubbling up through the like the flagstones are obviously just laid on the floor. It's a really old cottage, and so you had to wear like wellies downstairs. And the morning that we left, we woke up and it was beautiful weather again, typically. But when the guy picked us up, he said, oh, you'll have to be really careful driving out. And when you got onto the road, like the wall around Lake Coniston had just gone. The lake had completely come over the, burst the banks, and all that we had to drive through a slightly dodgy amount of water to get onto the higher road and get home. But all the way home, it was just like the rivers were like 3 times their width. There'd just been like this huge flood. And we got home to just loads of messages on the phone, because there was no, there was no internet, there was no phone, there was no nothing where we were. We were completely cut off. And like, both my parents were like, please let me know that you're safe. We're just watching all this flooding on the news, exactly where you are. And it was just like, and it was such hard work, the whole thing, because, we were soaking wet. You'd go out for a half-hour walk and everything was soaking wet. Like we all had waterproofs and everything, but it just got into everything. And we had this one tiny room with a washing line across it trying to dry stuff. And I got home and thought, oh, thank God that's over. And the kids just turned around and said, that was the best holiday ever. Can we go back? Like, really? So when I saw it, I was like, look at this. She's been to our, like, wet house. But she looked like she had slightly better weather, so he bought it me, and it's brought back lots of memories. Sorry, I've gone on a slight tangent. But in this collection of patterns, she's got two called the Mortmain and the Dodie, which is like a twin set. So the Mortmain is a t-shirt and the Dodie is a cardigan. So that's the back of the Mortmain. And this is knit with DK. So a lot of Susan Crawford stuff is, well, a lot of Fair Isle stuff in general is 4-ply. But I think I'm going to be keen on use because it's DK yarn that I want to use, but also I want like a quick win, and I think it'll be better in DK. And then there's a matching cardie that you can do over the top. So I'm going to start with the yoked t-shirt. You can do it with long sleeves, but I think I'll do it with short sleeves. And you can see, obviously, she's just used the main colour and then 3 contrast colours. I don't think, I mean, I might use like the undyed version for that, but I might have to use more than one colour. So she doesn't say, because it's her yarn, she just says you need so many skeins of your main colour and then a skein each of your contrast colours. But she doesn't say you'll only use 50 grams or you'll only use 20 grams. She doesn't say. So I might just have to play that by ear. I've got some that are quite similar colours. So that's the kind of plan for that. We will see whether it works or not. I don't know. So yeah, I think that's it. Oh, I said that I had one more whip. I'm sorry, I've really jumped about a lot. The last time I showed some undyed Aran weight wool, like a mixed, like wool from a mix of sheep that had just been blended together, British sheep, and it's sort of like a soft grey brown colour, like a natural sheep colour. And I showed a number of different large textured shawls, and I picked the Wellerman by Caitlin Hunter that I wanted to make, and I cast that on last night. But that's all I've done. Well, actually, I did it twice. I cast on the stitches and knitted the first row, and right at the end of the first row, I realised that I'd miscounted, despite the fact that I'd counted over and over and over again, but I had the wrong number of stitches. So I had to pull it all out and start again. And it was 424 stitches, people, that I cast on twice, although obviously not, because the first time I had too many. So that took a while, but I have counted and double checked, and I've put markers in for each of the repeats as I cast on. So like, I'm convinced I've got it right this time, and I should be good to go. But literally that's all it is, you know, 424 stitches and some stitch markers on a cable. So I'm not showing that because it's a bit boring, but hopefully I'll have made some progress. I think probably I'll finish the baby hat and I'll make some progress on that, and that might be, I might have done some swatching. That might be all I've done by next time, but we'll see. The only other thing I've done is I sewed a new ironing board cover because my old one was very ratty. I do tend to sew my own because I've never ever seen one in a shop that I've thought, oh, that's nice. They're always hideous synthetic fabrics in horrible colours. Well, I mean, maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place, but anyway, I tend to make my own, but it's an ironing board cover, so again, not the most exciting. I hope you have found something in this episode that you found enjoyable. I'm sorry it's been a bit rambly, but I hope it's been okay. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you are knitting, particularly if you are knitting something for the Cal. So just a reminder, the hashtag is knit patchwork Cal, and there's a 1 month left. I've got another sock set to give away as a prize for that, and there'll be a project bag too. So yeah, last chance. Everybody that's entered so far, with the exception of the 2 people who have already won. Everybody else's name just stays in the cup, and any new entrants just get added to the cup. So it's not like if you've missed out this time or last time, you know, you've missed your chance or you'll have to post again or anything. If you've entered the cal, you've entered the cal, and you're sort of valid for all the draws. So yeah, if you've got something planned or you've got something in the needles and you haven't posted yet, do post to your grid, please, rather than stories. Somebody did post to stories and I did manage to pick it up, but I might not necessarily. It's easy if you post to the grid and then you know, the hashtag notifies me that you've done that, which it doesn't necessarily do from stories for some reason. Yeah, I think that's it. So thanks ever so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I said last time, you know, the reason for me doing it was to kind of build a sense of community, and that has happened much more since that I made that comment last time. Loads of people commented this time, and lots of people saying similar things, you know, that it's nice to have a bit of back and forth, a bit of chat about your projects and, you know, your interests when there aren't necessarily people in your immediate circle that knit or sew or whatever. So yeah, I'm really pleased. Thank you so much if you've commented, and thank you so much if you subscribe, if you're, you know, have done for a while, if you're one of the new people that have joined this time. I do really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going now. Okay, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.